Oh, well, there you are now. Hello, poetry lovers, wherever you may be. It's old Peter Paul Van Camp here. Now, I'm seated today in my dressing room here at the old Hummingbird Theater. And I've chosen this location the better to be able to tell you the story of what happened 50 years ago this week in May of 1970 it was. I was a high school senior at, let me show you, Coshocton High School. Uh, this is my old high school sweater. It fits just as well as it ever did. Seems that they only had smalls left by the time I got around to picking mine up. The C, by the way, was not given me as a sportsman nor as a thespian. No, indeed. I got my C for being secretary-treasurer of the composting club 3 years running. But that's another story. Perhaps I will tell it another time. But for now, it seems appropriate, this week being the week that it is, to fill you in on what happened when, as a high school Hamlet, I made my a high school Hamlet. Yes, I made my theatrical debut. The play was called The Worlds of Shakespeare. And this was a compendium of various of the poignant and comical and, the punchy scenes from the Immortal Bard's canon. And we were putting it on to the best of our ability. Now, I had been volunteering backstage. I was, working the curtain and giving people their cues if they faltered. And the fella, Dwight Dowbiggin, who had been playing Hamlet more than adequately in rehearsal, came down with laryngitis just a couple of days before we were to open. And they looked around and they saw me standing there and asked me, did I by chance know the soliloquy from Act 3, Scene 1, the famous one, and I allowed, as I thought I'd picked up most of it, but I didn't understand it all. And they said, that's okay. You don't have to understand it. You just have to repeat it. Well, I didn't think that was adequate. So here's what I decided to do. I translated the Shakespearean language into the vernacular of mid-central Ohio, where Coshocton is located, just so to have it in my own head what the prince was saying, and thereby, when it came time to go on to the stage, I would be able to put it out in clarion tones and perhaps bring down the house. Well, it's not the way it happened. Owing to my extreme nervousness that evening, I forgot the original lines altogether. I could only remember my replacements, and so I have them. There's the original page right there. So I'll read you this. It's a little thing I called privately, "That boy Hamlet is talking to himself." And these are the words that came out of my mouth. Now, oddly enough, the only person who knew how to work the curtain was me. So the director was hissing at me from off stage when I completed my version of the soliloquy. "Get off and bring down the curtain." So I had to bring down the curtain on myself. It was a most embarrassing theatrical debut, sort of a precursor to many which would follow. Howbeit, later on in life, I discovered, I found this page again, and I was encouraged by my own, I just felt like dressing it up a little bit and making it a performance piece. And so I wrote little bookends, an opening scene and a closing scene involving Billy Shakespeare and my mother. It seemed to make some sense to me that if Billy Shakespeare would write in the manner which I was allowing him to, he would have grown up in the same town as we did. So Without further preamble, that boy Hamlet is talking to himself. Billy Shakespeare knocked on our door this morning. He wanted to play catch. Ma told him I was out, and she offered him a cookie. She'd just womped up a batch. Billy sat in our kitchen and drank his milk, told Ma he was working on a play. What about, Ma asked. Not sure yet, he answered. The usual stuff. But here's the part I have my main character say when he's all by his lonesome. He goes, well, I'll be. Or hang it all, I'll not be. Gosh, there you got me now. Let's see. That's a poser. To let things slide, or put up dukes and stem the tide. To die, to sleep. Did I say sleep? I mean for keeps. A sleep that's deep, that no alarm can bust with beep, and roust us from our frowsy heap. Jeepers, how the folks would weep. To die. Just lie there prone till kingdom come. And dream, perhaps. Now hold the phone. There's the catch. What kind of dreams are those dispatched? Having once or by the batch, while this livelong nap they snatch, we dasn't watch. Suppose that's why we put up with so much that we would sooner skip. Winter's grip, faucets drip, trousers rip, that neighbor snip who gives us lip, when we might, down in well, take dip or jump ship. Say, who would grunt and so perspire, but for the dread of upshot dire that might fall out should he expire? Keeps him on deck, pacing, facing seasickness he's come to know, rather than what lurks below. Thus do we neither sink nor sail, but stand and stare across the rail. Cheese it, here comes Abigail. Oh, unless I misheard Uncle Yule, our Abby's going to convent school. Billy said, that's about all I got so far. Might change those names, thinking about it. Well, that, Ma said, that sounds very interesting. You keep at it, said Billy. I will. Can I snag another cookie? Help yourself, Ma said. And she passed the plate, and she watched while Billy Shakespeare ate. Well, that's kind of the way it was back in May of 1970, when, as a tremulous 17-year-old, I took my first tentative steps upon the acting shelf. I hope this has been instructive. I learned a great deal from it, and let's look forward to doing this again sometime, shall we? I'll have more stories to tell, all of them true. Peter Paul Van Camp signing off. Hope you're having a fine day. Ta-ta and farewell.